How do we enter into Shabbos? So we spoke a little bit last few weeks, about what Shabbos is. Now we have to talk about Erev Shabbos, preparing for Shabbos, and how do you transition from Choil, from weekday to Shabbos. So there are in space, in Mokim, in space, there's a Beis HaMikdash in space, there's a Makam Mikdash in space, and there's a Makam Mikdash in Zman, in time. There's a Makam Mikdash in Nefesh. So the Makam Mikdash in space, the place of the Beis HaMikdash in space is in Yerushalayim, and the Makam Mikdash in Zman is Shabbos, in time is Shabbos. Now in space, if you have to get someplace, to transition to another place is very simple. Because if you have to get to a certain place, it's a certain place that's holy, sacred, and you have to get to that place, so the traveling to the place itself is the transition. So let's say you have to get to the Beis HaMikdash. So if you have to be Oila Regel, you have to elevate, and you have to walk up the mountain, and you have to travel. So the travel itself allows you to transition from the place where you're from, wherever you're coming from, to the place of the Beis HaMikdash. So travel is a very important process. In space, it's a very easy way to transition when you have to travel. This is why also there's old Chassidim when they used to go to their Rebbe's, they would specifically want to walk and not take a horse and buggy. Why? Because the idea is the longer you're going to walk, the more transition it's going to be, right? If you get into a plane and 5 minutes later in Eretz Yisrael, or 10 hours later in Eretz Yisrael, it doesn't. You don't have enough time really to transition to get into that state that you want to be when you're in Eretz Yisrael. But if you lived, 500 years ago, or even a few hundred years ago, to get to Eretz Yisrael, took you months or weeks until when you finally got there. You finally got, so the gaguim, the yearning and the transition of space is very appropriate. That's why even the Beis HaMikdash is on a higher place. That it's a peak. You have to get to a higher place, which is the Aliyas HaRegel. You're literally going upwards. So the physical movement, when you do something physical, there's achal levavis and shach malev, that the heart follows the action. So when you do some physical action, it pushes you, it moves you forward. When it comes to Zman, time, so it's much more difficult. Because what is the physical things that you're going to do in time in order to transition? So with regards to Yom Tov, especially particular type of Yom Tovs, the Yom Tov itself has within it Erev Yom Tov. The Erev Yom Tov is like part of Yom Tov. Like Erev Pesach it's called Pesach. It's actually called Pesach in the Torah. Erev Pesach. So Pesach, it's you bring a korban Pesach, and that's the way you enter into Pesach. So the Erev that before has things that you do already before Pesach, or Erev Yom Kippur, if there's that you're eating, is lachana for fasting. So there's already inherently within this. With regards to Shabbos, especially the fact because Shabbos starts the way all Yom Tov start. Shabbos starts in the middle of the day. Shabbos starts. It's not like you go to sleep and you wake up in the morning, and then the morning is that's the transition. Let's say if you have a tonus that you don't fast by night. Okay, so you go to sleep the next morning, you wake up, you transitioned already, and the sleeping in itself is the thing that gets you from place one to from point A to point B. So you wake up in the morning, you start fasting. Erev Shabbos, also Erev Yom Tov, you don't have that. What do you have? So there's a mitzvah in the Torah, on Erev Shabbos, there's a mitzvah in the Torah that you have to prepare. And the preparing for Erev Shabbos is a mitzvah, not just, it's two things. First of all, it's not just a mitzvah. The idea of preparing is not only preparing so you have what you need on Shabbos. So the Gemara brings down a lot of different people, a lot of Tanoim, Amoraim that were Shibuta, they did like minimal work that normally was done by a housemaid or someone else, and they did this work, which means that it was something a chiyuv on you. There's an obligation of you. It's not that the meal has to be ready, and however the meal is going to be ready, the part of preparing the meal. Like, the mun had to be ready for the night. So you say, however the meal's ready, you fulfill the obligation. No, there's on the gaver, on the person himself, there's a mitzvah. Specifically, you have to prepare. But it's more than that. That the mitzvah of preparing Erev Shabbos for Shabbos is not just preparing so you have what you need on Shabbos. That would be a utilitarian purpose, which means you need to eat food on Shabbos. You're not allowed to cook on Shabbos, so you cook before Shabbos. What happens if you go into a place that everything's ready for you, you don't have to cook, the food is ready for you, there's still a mitzvah to prepare, which means the mitzvah of preparing the mitzvah is in itself, the preparation itself is the mitzvah. It's not a preparation for something. It's not just a chitim, so I need to prepare, I need to have hot food tonight, so I need to prepare the food, so I should have hot food. Preparing itself is what has to be done. Why? Because in order to receive Shabbos, in order to receive anything in life, you need to prepare for it. If you enter into Shabbos and you didn't prepare for it, you didn't go through a process of entering into Kedushas Shabbos in stages, and then Shabbos comes, you're not going to be open to truly receive what Shabbos is. So the more a person prepares, and the more a person prepares for Erev Shabbos, the more they're going to experience Shabbos. So again, it's not just that you're going to have what you need for Shabbos, but the more you correctly prepare to enter into Shabbos, the more you're going to experience what Shabbos is. And because of that, because of this idea of that there has to be a transition, there's a lot of things we have to do. And it really starts off at the beginning of the week already. Transitioning into Shabbos already starts at the beginning of the week. Where do we see this idea of transitioning to Shabbos already starts in the beginning of the week? So, according to the Ramban and the Mechilta, the mitzvah of a Karasas Shabbos, the mitzvah of Zachar Yom Shabbos, L'kache, is a mitzvah in the first Mar Malkim of the Ramban. That the mitzvah of Zachar Yom Shabbos L'kache, you have to remember Shabbos, is Rabbi Yitzchak says from the Mechilta, Loite moine kederech shacher moinem. You shouldn't count the days of the week like others count the week. Elate moine l'shem Shabbos. You should count towards Shabbos. Every day is called a specific day. There's the dates of the week. The days of the week have a specific name to it. It's Sunday, Monday has a day to it. Or it has to do with the planetary systems, like the Christians do it. Or different names. L'shem Shabbos, Erev Shabbos, Shenim Shabbos, ki zu a mitzvah shenitztavu k'dei l'zoicha tamim b'chol yom. Zeh pshat the Shambikah. The mitzvah of Schiras Shabbos, the mitzvah Tmidius, Schiras Yom Shabbos Akache, you have to remember Shabbos, is the mitzvah that you have to continuously remember Shabbos. And so in a sense, when you're saying Yom Aleph, today is Yom Rishon l'Shabbos, Sheni l'Shabbos, the first day to Shabbos, Sunday, Monday to Shabbos, you're really counting the whole week towards Shabbos. Shabbos, which means you're constantly entering into Shabbos. This is according to Pshat, according to the Ramban. The mitzvah is to prepare, is already from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. You have to count the days, and that's why in Hebrew, Lashon Kodesh, there's no names for the days of the week. They're called day 1, day 2, day 3 to Shabbos. There's also an idea that Shabbos is that there's Sheish Yom and B'Yom HaShvi, the 6th and the 7th. The other idea, which the Gemara mentions, the Gemara Pesachim speaks about, is that there's Kama Shabbat and Basa Shabbat. So you say Kama Shabbat and Basa Shabbat before Shabbos and after Shabbos. So Shabbos is actually not the end of the week or the beginning of the week. We talked about this, but is the middle, is the midpoint. Then you have Kama Shabbat, which is 3 days before, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Let's say L'chun Arana, you start Shabbos. And then you have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, which is the effects of Shabbos. Says Dari. So Dari says, Dari writes in Kriyas Chaim, that when it says that a person has an Neshama Yisayir on Shabbos, Neshama Yisayir on Shabbos means that this Neshama Yisayir, this is a deeper level of your Neshama, of your soul. The Neshama Yisayir b'Shabbos means that you also get a Nefesh and a Ruach and a Neshama, and a Neshama and a Neshama. You get all these madregas, all these levels, every week. And the way it works is that you first get the nefesh of Shabbos on Wednesday, the ruach of Shabbos on Thursday, and the neshama on Shabbos on Friday, and by Kabbalah Shabbos, by Mizvah Shilim Shabbos, by Baruch Hu, you get Neshmasa and Lishmasa. So it's stages of entering into Shabbos. The same thing also reverse. When the neshama departs a person on Matzah Shabbos, it also goes in stages. First the neshama leaves on Matzah Shabbos, and the neshama on Sunday, and the neshama on Sunday, the ruach on Monday, and the nefesh on Tuesday. So let's read. And Ari says that there's practical applications to this. Da. Ki Toisa Shabbos say da l'chalakim. The Toisa Shabbos is, there are 4 levels of the Toisa Shabbos. Neshama l'neshama, v'nefesh ruach v'neshama. There's neshama l'neshama, nefesh ruach v'neshama. V'hinei, Toises neshama l'neshama, stalik about the Shabbos. The neshama for the neshama, the nefesh ruach neshama, very bekitzer, is that the nefesh of a person is connected to their actions, how they are in this world physically. The ruach is connected to their emotions, or how they speak, connected to machshava, and then to dibur, and the neshama of a person connected to machshava. Machshava de ma'isa, thoughts, words, and actions is nefesh, ruach, and neshama. So the nefesh, when a person says it has a higher nefesh, what does it mean that a person has a higher nefesh on Shabbos? Means that the koyach ha'maisa, the power to do, is different on Shabbos than during the weekday. Which means you're going to do things on Shabbos and you do things on the weekday. You can do the exact same things. But on Shabbos, there's going to be a higher, it's not what you do, besides the fact that it's what you do also, but it's how you do it on Shabbos. That on Shabbos, because Shabbos is a more pneumistic day, so a more internal day, the meisim that you do on Shabbos is not, should be, I'm not saying it has to be, but that's the way it should be. You have the possibility that it shouldn't be grub.
So even opening like a door?
Yeah. Even just your whole being on Shabbos has to change. Everything. Your being on Shabbos change means you move in this world a little differently on Shabbos than you walk during the week. You speak a little bit differently on Shabbos than you normally speak throughout the week. It means you could say the exact same thing, but on Shabbos maybe maybe it's a little more settled. You're more ruik. You're not. Benachas. You understand? You're saying everything differently. It's not only what you're saying; it's how you're saying it, and also your machshava. Your machshavas have a little bit shvisas on machshava, like you have more rikus on machshava. You don't have bilbul, you don't have tishtush on Shabbos, simply because you don't have the things to do technically, right? Right? Shabbos, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to do nothing. That's what Shabbos is supposed to do. So you have nothing to do, so automatically your machshava is not mishatat stomach. It's not running around trying to figure out what's the next action I have to take. So it's not only that you're that Shabbos, the gedushas of Shabbos has to permeate. The gedushas of Shabbos has to become so involved that your nefesh is a little bit different on Shabbos, your ruach is a little bit different on Shabbos, and your neshama is a little different on Shabbos. Neshama is like dveikus. Neshama is also called chaya. So like your chaya is your ratzon, your tzonus, your wills are high on Shabbos. So a matzah Shabbos is nistalik, matzah Shabbos is neshama. B'yom echad b'shavua tisha b'ay neshama. V'namachar kach nistalik oizet tois on neshama. On the end of Sunday, that's when your neshama starts leaving. The Gemara says that with the mishmoyers, that they wouldn't fast on Sunday and Friday. And the Gemara says because it's you can't fast and then have a meal. That's what the Gemara says. But the Ari says that there's even a deeper reason because the person feels the lack. There's a certain lack in the person's nefesh and in the level of the neshama, and if you're going to fast on top of that, it's going to cause even bigger pain. Okay, alavai. That's the v'chein b'yem vav mishum toisin zeshama. The same be also b'yem vav the toisin zeshama, which comes in on Thursday. V'toisin ruach yishar ad yom beis b'Shabbos. The extra ruach stays with the person till Monday. You'll see. That's what we said. The Arizal is going to write this. He's going to write this right there. That's why it's on Monday. And the Toises Nefesh stays until Shabbos, until Tuesday. Why are you allowed to make Avdallah until Tuesday? Because technically you still have the Nefesh of Shabbos. What? Yeah, that's mafli. That's another. That's because you're not going to have menucha. You're not going to be in a state of menucha. We'll see about this. We'll talk about it. Okay, so but this is the way the general system. The system is that you leave your neshama leaves on Sunday, your ruach leaves on Monday, and your nefesh leaves on Tuesday. Therefore, Tuesday you can make Havdalah. And then already Tuesday, you have to start thinking about, okay, now we're going to have a next level. Now we're going to have a nefesh, ruach, and neshama of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So the whole week is Shabbos. Nimtze gimel yashua rishonim heim and Shabbos ha'aver. Gimel yashua achayim Shabbos haba. V'zeh the Shabbos Shiri Revi. V'in b'yom dal yichav l'achas l'chol tois Shabbos haba l'tois nefesh. B'yom abei yichav l'kabel tois Shabbos haba l'tois ruach. B'yom abei yichav l'kabel tois neshama. I think yavu gimel tois el b'yom Shabbos. Now he says practically. Ki lachein tzarech adam lasas b'yom aleph the Shabbos l'chaven tameh b'soid ha'machshava v'yachshech machshavas v'kavanas kedoshos. Since Sunday is a more subtle day than Monday, there's a very big oimik to what Ari is saying. That Sunday in general has more subtlety, is less dense than the day of Monday.
You're usually at Target.
Huh?
You're usually at Target or Walmart.
Okay, that's some people, but it's more subtle. It's coming from the Kedushas Shabbos. So a person has to make sure. Therefore, it's more important to have edel machshavas. You should always have edel machshavas. You should make sure your machshavas are clean. But on a day that's a very subtle day, which is Sunday and Friday, you have to be careful with your machshava more than other things. With your machshava, with your thoughts. Monday and Thursdays, and this is why Dari says you read the Torah Monday and Thursdays. You read the Torah Monday and Tuesday. It's three. The Gemara says because every 3 days. Why after Monday and Tuesday? Toisa says because it's Mana Ratzon, Eis Ratzon, because Moshe Rabbeinu was all on Yom Chavishi. But the Ari says because Monday and Thursdays are connected to the world of speech, and you have to be careful with speech. This is important because certain people, not to get into this big conversation, but certain people in the Shamas of Kain, certain people in the Shamas of Hevel. So people that are in the Shamas of Hevel have to be more careful with their machshava, and people that are in the Shamas of Kain have to be more careful with their dibur or maisa, because for example, with maisa particularly, not dibur, not for maisa. For example, sometimes someone tells you something, and doesn't bother you. Sometimes tells you another person tells you the exact same thing, and it bothers you more. Why? It depends if the person comes from Kayin Hevel. It depends if the person comes from Kayin Hevel. If a person comes from a certain place where they're connected, there's a very maisadik person, a very like a physical person. He's the burma, not so serious. So okay, he said something new, meitasnish, doesn't really mean it. A person that's a very measured person, like a person that's Hevel, and he tells you something, it hurts you more. A person that Hevel, that's a shtickle absent-minded maybe, does something that hurts you physically, say, hey, he didn't mean it. A person of Kain does something, it means much more. Right? So in other words, you have to know what type of person you are in order to be more careful, because Hevel has to be more careful with Machshav and Dibur, and Kain has to be more with Maisim. The same thing also, Dari is saying, is also with the days of the week. On Sundays and Fridays, you have to be much more careful with your Machshavas. On Monday and Thursday, you have to be much more careful with your Diburim. Your words have more power that day because you're more connected to the Ruach, and therefore it would have more effect. And if it has a more effect, for better or the opposite, God forbid. The same thing also, Tuesday and Wednesday is Maisa. Yasek b'mitzvahs. That's the day of mitzvahs, Maisa. So yeah, Wednesday's a new one for next week. The nefesh. Yeah, the nefesh of the previous week leaves on Tuesday, and the nefesh of the ruah of the coming week comes on Wednesday. So Tuesday and Wednesday is Maisa weeks. By the way, when Dari is saying he's actually Megala something that's a truth in the world. It's not just a truth on an abstract level. You'll see that most people, that Tuesday and Wednesday is the days. These are the days you could do things. Sunday people, Monday's God Monday, Friday's Erev Shabbos, as I get us, and Tuesday and Wednesday is like the center of the week. These are the days that there's a lot of undertones about this. By the way, it's not simple. Even the whole world knows this. The whole world knows this. People go to bars on certain days of the week, and they go to shows on certain days of the week. I say, why? Because it's a certain energetic level in the world that you feel this on Sunday. People feel they need to do certain things on Sunday. People think they have to do certain things on Monday, and this is what it is. Because on Monday, there's a koyach ruchni that Klal Yisrael has on Sunday that's connected to the machshava, which is neshama. The neshama is leaving different from machshava. The edelkeit is leaving. On Monday, there's a diburim, and on Tuesday is ma'isa. Same thing also the reverse. So the achana l'Shabbos, when we talk about achana l'Shabbos, we're saying the achana l'Shabbos is the whole week. It means one, you're unpacking the Shabbos that just came, and now you're going to receive the Shabbos that is going to enter. Yeah. It's Wednesday. The nefesh. Yeah.
So you're also the mashma is that it's a noon neshama yisera.
Avada, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Every neshama yisera is a
Yeah, it's a new chiddush. Yeah, of course. It's not the sum neshama. It's a high madrig. Of course. Okay, here's a word to stam from the Volatile Yisrael. He brings down from the B'Shem Baal Shem. There's a pasuk on this. Mashkasa Rivash, cousin Samagid brings down B'Shem Baal Shem Hakadosh. Pirush HaPasuk b'char shebekatzer tishbois. Kicharish hu Chamishi Revi Shishi. It's a lame kamoy shachish yachan leziv ktsira. Kachel shon yom shachel Shabbos. About the same thing. Also, you're chayrish. You work the land and then you reap the benefits. You should always think about the you're gonna plant what you're going to receive on Shabbos. Then you can reap the benefits on the Chrisha, then the Zriya, and then the Ktsir, the actually cutting, will be in the weeks that follow, which the 3 days that follow, which is after Shabbos, which means the full implementation of Shabbos. Because the Shabbos will come to a person on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. This is the way it works. So you're unpacking the oil that you receive on Shabbos throughout the week. Okay. Now, in preparing, we're going to see soon. There's a lot of sources to this, but in preparing for something, there is always the danger that whenever you're preparing for something and you're very serious about the preparation, that a lot of klippa can come, a lot of negative things can come. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. When people are on giyok, they're like, there's like Shabbos is coming, especially if Shabbos is early, and things have to be done. So a lot of problems can happen in the house at this time, Erev Shabbos. We'll see soon what the issues are. There's big issues, but the main thing is that it has to be done with joy, and this is going to be the Evan Aboicha. This is going to be the barometer to know whether you did the Achanos l'Shabbos b'kedusha, you were preparing for Shabbos with holiness, or was the Achana because you had just OCD or you have other issues. Now, how do you know if it's going to be b'kedusha? How do you know that if it's done correctly? Is the simcha. We're going to see soon. This is very, very important, and you see even the big tzaddikim talk about this, that they struggled Erev Shabbos. The Zidut Shev and the Command, they talk about this very strongly, that the worst time in the year for them, the worst time in their week was Erev Shabbos. But let's see soon. So the first Maramakim is from Reb Baruch. So Ki Yadua is Rugza de Baruch, so we'll say Dafka from Reb Baruch, L'shtikol Torah like this. The Reb Baruch says about Shabbos Kodesh like this. Shetzarech lekabel Shabbos b'simcha. You have to bekabel Shabbos with joy. L'smoich boy, l'sanig boy. The Kabbalah Shabbos has to be with joy, and has to be with simcha. V'zeh, you b'deish meichen esatz m'sheis meichen l'Shabbos. You prepare yourself for Shabbos, but the preparation also has to be with joy. Zeh pirush. Shabbos m'sois lebeinu, nepach la'avil mechilenu. So pashas means that it's destroyed. The m'sois lebeinu, our joy was destroyed, and our dancing became availus, became mourning. He said the pshat is like this. Hainu, Shabbos m'sois lebeinu. You should know that Shabbos brings a person joy. It's the source of joy. It's a source of happiness and menucha and ruikai. That's Shabbos. That should be Shabbos. V'im chas shalom ein margish ataynik v'simcha Shabbos. V'nepach la'avol chas shalom. If you don't experience Shabbos as tainug, as simcha, I would say, because in the beginning it says l'kabol is a Shabbos, even the Kabul is a Shabbos. It means and even the Kabul, and it feels like it's hard and it's a lot of trauma. Zeh mochilenu machas bechinas hachoil. This is, you should know, becomes because of the choil, because you didn't prepare yourself correctly in the imei choil. That if you didn't prepare yourself correctly in the imei choil, if you didn't prepare yourself in the weekdays correctly, in the right state of mind, which we'll see soon, what is this right state of mind? If you don't prepare yourself in the right state of mind, and Shabbos comes and you're still angiyok, and you're not Mesois Libeinu, and you don't feel this joy, you should know that something is not working out. That you didn't prepare correctly. This is a sefer by Chemnus Yomim. It's a huge. I don't want to get into the whole controversy what the sefer is, but it's a huge controversial sefer. The Svardim are Makabel the sefer, the Ashkenaz or Chassidim or not. Some Chassidim, yeah, it's a very, very complicated sefer. Not relevant. The Svardim hold the sefer as Kodesh Kodashim. You should know that. By Chassidim, not so much. But the reason why I'm quoting from the Sefer, that's the thing, we don't know. It looks like it's connected to Shabtoi. That's the whole drama. But the Svardim promise swear that it's not, and the Vadi Yosef wrote us coming from the new Sefer that they put out, and all the Svardim read it. Even today, probably Vadi Yosef's son probably uses Erev. All the Svardim read this Erev Shabbos. It's like a very beautiful Sefer on Shabbos. The summer in Muslim, maybe, who knows? It's not so clear what's going on there. But you can.
The first time it's quoted in Shir here.
Yes, and the reason why I'm quoting is not because I want to quote Chem Sayam, because there could be issues. The reason why I'm quoting is because he brings a nice thing, and I don't know where the market for this. He says it's B'Shem the Klei Yakar, but I don't know where I can't find the Klei Yakar, so we're going to quote it from here. Achacham Agadol Shleim Ephraim Lunsens, which is the Klei Yakar, yeah, Talmud and Maral. He says that there are three things that a person has to prepare himself for Shabbos. He has to prepare himself with his finances, his clothes, and his food. It says this is what the Chamas Yom is saying. He brings down from the Eilos Ephraim, from the Klei Yakar. He's saying masa is, what's a masa? What's the weight? Is mammon, money, simlois, and achila. That the desire for money and for clothes and for food is the most devastating of all these. And he has a whole arichas of this idea, but it's Shabbos Kodesh. And the idea is you have to prepare yourself in order to enter Shabbos correctly. You have to sort of detach yourself from these three things, and that's actually Al Pi Halacha. This is also the way it works. Which is, mammon is obviously you don't do business. And not only you don't do business on Shabbos, obviously, but even the Chanel Shabbos. You can't enter Shabbos 5 minutes before Shabbos, paying a bill. You should never do that. You should never look at your mail hours before Shabbos. Today, not a hard mail or whatever it's called, snail mail or another mail. Especially if it's a bill. You don't look at bills Erev Shabbos. You have to figure out a time in your mind, a few hours before Shabbos, I'm not looking at bills. Which means you have to enter into Shabbos. You can't enter into Shabbos.
What if it's like there's a Gemara in Avodah Zarah that says you're not allowed to do business with Nei Adem.
Yeah, L'fnei Adem.
So, but there's a Manda Omer that says that if you're getting back a loan,
that's something else. That's something else. That's only because of Avodah Zarah. That's something else. Because you're nena. Because you're not having nena. You're taking away from someone.
But it takes a few minutes.
No. Because I'll tell you why. Because usually when you look at a bill, the first thing you say is oi, and then even if you pay it, it's oi, but it's paid. Don't think oi. What kind of oi? There's no oi.
No, what I'm asking is the Indian of
Your someone takes a loan for to pay you back after Shabbos.
No, but is preparing your finances mean that you should get to a place where it shouldn't occur to you entire Shabbos to think about finance?
Correct.
So whatever that takes.
No, stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
If you think Komalat Chasuya, no, because some people are going to say the way I'm going to not think about my business on Shabbos is I'm going to work till 2 minutes before Shabbos. I'm going to get everything that has to be done before Shabbos, and then I'm going to feel relaxed. It's not true. It's not going to work. What you can do is you're going to schlep the yacht that you had with Erev Shabbos. You're going to bring her into Shabbos. Now it may take you an hour, 2-3 hours. You may get to Shabbos, but for the first few hours, you're not going to be Shabbos-dik. You need to allow yourself a transition right? There's a transition that you have to let go. Like in the Beis Hamikdash, if you went to the Beis Hamikdash, you have to go to the mikveh, right? You have to do a kohen had to do rechitza. He has to wash his hands and his feet. You have to do a physical act, which means I'm going somewhere. I'm separating from that. I have to put on different levushim, right? I have to do things in order to enter. I can't just pop into the Beis Hamikdash. You can't pop into Shabbos. I don't know if it's not relevant over here. A woman should never light Shabbos candles not wearing big day Shabbos. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Whatever you have to, I don't know. Whatever you have to figure that out. But I'm saying it's a thing. You can't try to get to the final line and it's okay. Now it's Shabbos. Boom, Shabbos. No, you have to be making yourself a Shabbos. If it's mammon, ideas of mammon, you have to think about like, okay, I'm not going to think about money for the next 2 hours, an hour, whatever you think. There's a time period that you're not going to think about money, and then you're able to Shabbos relax. That's one thing. Also with simla, with clothes, which is very important. You have to change your clothes. I mean, everyone knows you have to wear for Shabbos, but a lot of people say, okay, I'm a Kabbalah Shabbos. Then when Shabbos comes, I'm going to go get dressed. What have to? No, you have to already be prepared. You have to prepare yourself before Shabbos that you put on different clothes already. It's a visceral. It's a physical action that shifts your consciousness. It's important. We need to do maisim that are actually going to force us to be in a different place. You put on different begadim, you put on different clothes, especially the begadim that are nicer begadim for Shabbos. That's going to force you to be in a different place. The same thing also with food. Now, yes, you could have tameh chaims, you can't have tameh, but you can't sit down and have a huge meal Erev Shabbos. It's not going to work. What people have today, they drink before Kiddush. It's not such a good thing. It's not such a good thing. You want to drink, maybe whatever. There's other times, but not before Shabbos. You have to go into Shabbos. You have to say, I'm separate, or else you start Makabel Shabbos earlier. It's Psander. You want to Makabel Shabbos early and drink before Baruch or something else. But I'm saying if you're not Makabel Shabbos, you're schlepping in the choil, you're pushing in the choil into Kodesh, and then you can't actually transition correctly. There has to be stages that you slowly process yourself out of this idea. There's a Torah of Baal Shem says, the Gemara says in Ksuvas that Ameis Erev Shabbos similar Yafaloi. That someone that passes away in Erev Shabbos is similar Yafaloi. That rewrites in Shari Gegulim, Damachav Gimel, that rewrites that if a person passes away in Erev Shabbos, this person is not going to have Chibut HaKever. You're not going to experience Chibut HaKever. Chibut HaKever means when your soul, your neshama, is aware of your body decomposing. It's chibuk. It's like pounding of the grave. It's kosher little mess. So the Gemara says, the Ari says you're not going to have Chibud HaKever. Says the Baal Shem, that Meis B'Erev Shabbos, how do you make sure? Who are you telling this to? Meis B'Erev Shabbos, this is not up to you, right? The Meis B'Erev Shabbos. So Baal Shem says, Meis B'Erev Shabbos means if someone is Meis B'Erev Shabbos, someone dies from the weekday of Choil, B'Erev Shabbos is Simin Yafaloi. Means if you're able to Meis Erev Shabbos, say, I'm letting go Erev Shabbos, not Shabbos. Shabbos already, Avada, you're going to Meis B'Erev Shabbos. But if it's a Meis B'Erev Shabbos, if you're able to Meis B'Erev Shabbos, it's Simin Yafaloi. This is the Simin Yafaloi. You have to let it go. This is also the idea of that the Gemara speaks about, that you shouldn't run in the street, and if you run and you're mazik, you're chayiv, but Eretz B'Erev Shabbos, you're potter. The Gemara says, why are you potter B'Erev Shabbos? Because Erev Shabbos is the idea of Ritzah. You have to Ritzah L'Kavat Shabbos, but if you're running, L'Kavat Shabbos means you're doing something, a physical act of running is movement. You're moving out of the space that you're from, moving to a place. That is part of Shabbos. That is part of L'Chon L'Shabbos, this idea of running.
Is it also why the Rizah would talk about?
That's exactly what I want to say. This is exactly what I want to say. Because the Gemara then on the Amud Beis of that Gemara, I'm sure some of you learned this in the Bava Kama Amud Beis, that the Gemara then says that this is connected to Rechanin used to go out and say boy kala Shabbos kala, and then the Ari was created a minig, a custom to go on the sada, to go on the field. The Shalach Kaddish says, the Shalach writes, what's up to the sada? The sada, Shabbos is not in the sada. What's up to go to the sada? He can't answer, but the teretz is exactly what you're saying. Why did you go to the sada, go into the field? Because you want to do a physical act. You're sitting in shul and you're saying, now it's l'chodein l'kaskala, do something. Even if you turn around, when you do turn around in Shabbos for l'chodein, take a step. You'll see it's different. It's a whole different thing. Better if you can look out the window. This is my opinion, but I don't know. This is my. Because if you move out, you automatically feel that you're leaving someplace. You understand? When your body is moving in another space. Then when you turn around, it's Mizvah Shali HaShabbos. You feel it. It's Argosha. L'chu Nurana. Correct. L'chu. Go. Correct. Okay. All right. One of the achanos l'Shabbos, and then we're going to go a little more. But one of the achanos l'Shabbos, one of the appearances of Shabbos, is to get rid of clutter and to get rid of cobwebs. I'm seeing we're missing the shtickle. We're missing a gewaldige source. The Imre Pinchas. You have it?
Which one? Which
The Pinchas Koritzer.
It's in the back of the Tefillah Moshe.
Oh, really? That's right.
No,
On the same page.
Oh, because I took a copy. I put the sefer on top of it. Shlomo, what does it say there? You have it. It's a short shtickle, but it's a gewaldige shtickle because it's very important. I'll just say the beginning of this idea. What does it say? You find it. The Tefillah Moshe is not. Tefillah was about cobwebs.
Where was the Pinchas Karza?
Right before. It's supposed to be right before here. No. Oh, it could be my problem. I didn't tell it to you. Comes out. It's my mistake.
I could find it in Hebrew books.
No, but I sent it to you. I sent it to you. No.
I don't think I received it.
Ooh. Do we have an Imre Pinchas there? Maybe we have one. Do we have it?
Sponsor the image.
Okay, I'll tell you what it is. It's a shigay. It's a short line. It's a short line, and he says a moedike vort. It's a very consistent. Pinchas Koritzer says such type of ideas. He says that a person that davens in a place that's cluttered. If your place is like cluttered, like very messy and cluttered, you have bilbul amoich. You can't daven with you have machshavas zaros. That if your physical surroundings is in disarray, very messy, not even dirty, just messy, it's cluttered, then it's going to cause that your machshavas are not going to be able to be clean, are not going to be able to be focused. This is a moedik yisoid, which means it's a moedik yisoid in Torah Chassidus and B'chlalos in general, that there's a very deep relationship with the things that are going on a physical level. This is Torah Chassidus, right? Torah Shalom. That everything that happens on a physical level is directly related to everything that's going on in a more pneumistic level. That if a person walks into a room and everything is masudar, everything is like organized, you're automatically going to have more organized thoughts. If you walk into a room that everything is mavulvul, your thoughts are also going to be bilbul. Says that Pinchas Koritzer said if a person has machshavas and it's jumping around, you should masader your space. Just take the siddur, make sure it's in the right place, that the table is straightened out, everything's clean. That in itself, the act of doing something that's creating a physical structure, order, will create order for your machshava. There's a very big oimik to this idea.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting because on my spiel,
Yeah.
was a article of
Yeah, Pinchas Koritzer,
and when somebody signed into his yeshiva,
yeah.
he checked the dormitory in his bed. If it was Merulu, he didn't.
There's a famous word by one of the Litvische Balei Musar, I think the Alt of Slobodka, when they used to ask about a bacher in the yeshiva, he always told the father to go look at the room, how the boy keeps his room. He said if the boy keeps a neat room, then you know the person's a masudar. The boy keeps not a neat room, you know that he's not only not a masudar in his room, but in his moich is also not masudar. Which is there's a deep connection. Now again, this can be dangerous. That's why I want to say the OCD can also kick in. So we're gonna say, we're gonna talk about this because it has to be done in a very correct way. But the idea of a neatness and order is a very important thing. That the mind is very much connected. Yeah, that your mind becomes a sudar. So he says he talks about tefillah. It's in Yonei Tefillah in Pinchas. You can look at it. When he talks about different ideas about tefillah, he brings us about machshavas. A person has machshavas because it's cluttered. But it's the same idea with Shabbos. If you want a orderly Shabbos, just a yishuv adas of Shabbos, you have to make sure your house is in order. Everything looks masudar. There's no ketchup all over the floor. Everything should be masudar. It's going to automatically create a yishuv adas. In other svarim, in Sifra Kabbalah, the Ari brings it down, but there's a longer riches over here from the Ramak. And the Ramak talks about, it's unfortunately it's a little small over here in the line, in the page, but the Ramak talks about this in long arichis. about a person preparing himself Erev Shabbos, and the Kedusha Shabbos, and you prepare yourself. And then he says, "V'koydem lazeh yitaken abayis ba'atzma." You should actually mitaken the bias. You should make sure the bias is in order. V'yitarena mekoyer achvish. You should make sure that there's no cobwebs. Shem neged achitzoinim. Shmalos b'yal titavish v'beichar malach. And then he says, then you have to clean your body, etc. Also, yakutz point of shalragov yadav raglov. And it's avoras as a klippus as a boim shekeneged as v'zaknau. Okay, the idea is specifically to clean your house, not from food or anything. Cobwebs. There's like little messy things. The Ramak writes there's an inyan on Erev Shabbos to make sure your house is tidy. That's the correct word. It's all clean and neat. And over here, the Shalom brings down the same idea. Shalom Kodesh. That Kotzim Titzoyes Chaim, this is Siddur Shalom Erev Shabbos, Shari, it's also Dari. The Reish Chacham brings them the Ramak, really. Hoyenoig Lifnes Abayis Mekor Achmish Shekor Shvinim Weben. Yeah, Weben, webs. Shesoy Nifno Li Yoidechein Levatel HaKlippes Men Abayis V'dal. So now this is even more boiming. That not only is it some type of cleanliness, like the Pinson says, but it's also this klippa here. And this is not really what the Shalach continues, and the Ramak writes, is that over there, there's also klippa. What's made this? What's made that this klippa? It's like this. The corners, where are cobwebs? Cobwebs and also and nails of a person represents the place of the edges. The edges are the places where, in the Panemius, the edges means the place that people don't focus on. There's the place that you focus on, which is the thing in itself, and then there's the place where Shmamas B'Yavim Titapash V'Beichal Melech, where you're not focused on those places, and that's where Klippa takes a hold. It's a nafshastika thing. It's a ruchnistika thing, and it's a nafshastika thing. That in a person's life, the cleaning the cobwebs is also, it's literally you taking the cobwebs, but like I said before, that when you do something, a physical act, it also has an effect on yourself. What is the cobwebs or the nails of a person? What does it mean? So there is the thing in your life, there's certain things that I'm very conscious about, which is the part of myself that I'm very present with my life as it is. And then there are the parts of my life that are the edges of my life. I'll give you a mashal. You have people that work for you. Let's say you have people that work for you. You have 3 people that work for you. One person is like your partner. One person is like someone that works for you very seriously. And one person is a janitor. Who gets the worst of you? Who gets you who are you the most angry at, or most tzulazin that you don't really care about? Is the janitor. Which means the person that you have are in the people that are on the edges of your life don't demand as much of attention. You don't force yourself to be there presently with the most intention and in the most best way, like the people that you have to be in your full life. Which is the place of the edges, or the edges will be also in throughout the day. Let's say you'll say, throughout the day generally I'm a very good person and I do all the right things and I'm a Shabbat mitzvah and I'm doing this very correctly, but on the edge time is where I fall. The edge time is like I'm about to fall asleep. I'm waiting between one thing and the next. Are you happy with what I'm trying to say? It's always in the edges where you don't have focus. I say, this is my Seder Yom. This is the order what I do for the day. I wake up in the morning, and I go to daven, and I learn, and I go to work. These are the things that I do. Where do I fall? I don't fall in those times where it's part of my real day. I fall in the places of my edges. Where it's Shmamas B'Yavim Titapash V'Beichal Melech. It's like the cobwebs that are out of mind, out of sight. That's the place where I fall. So Erev Shabbos, if you want to enter the Erev Shabbos, says the Ramak, you have to make sure that your edges are clean. By cutting your nails and making sure that not only that your house is neat, but you're even worried about that the cobwebs should be taken away, this should be Messiah. You should awaken you that you should think that I want to enter the Shabbos, but I also want to make sure that all my Chshavah Dibur Maisa is not just my conscious Chshavah Dibur Maisa, but even the things that are on the edges are also properly ready to enter the Shabbos. Okay, that's so the kedusha should be entered into fully. This idea that there's shmaminus, there's edges that are klipa, okay, there's has to be understood like this, that Erev Shabbos b'chlal, the time of Erev Shabbos, is a very, very intense time. Why is it an intense time? Because Erev Shabbos there's a few reasons. Number one, there's a lot of like technical reasons, but the oimik is like this. The simple reason, Erev Shabbos is the Shedim on Erev Shabbos, which means that the unfinished forces of the universe are created in Erev Shabbos, which is like it's an liminal time. It's a liminal time. It's not this and it's not that. That's where Shedim are. Shedim are not Bnei Adam. It's Shleish Bnei Adam. It's not Shleish Malachim. It's an in between state. The Erev Shabbos state, let's say a little differently, the Erev Shabbos state is not Choil and it's not Kodesh. Right? Whenever something is not Choil and Kodesh, I say, I know how to do Choil very well. I know what I have to do when it's Choil. I know when it's weekday. I know what I have to do when it's Kodesh. In the in-between times, which is the liminal times, the edge times of Zman, is also where I'm not so sure. Like if, let's say I come to davening, let's say an example. I come to davening, I know they start davening at 7 o'clock. But here, now the minyan doesn't start till 7:10. What do I do in these 10 minutes? That's where I don't know what to do with myself. That's where the Yetzer Hara, that's where the klippa finds a place. The klippa finds a place in the edge, in the places that you don't know. That's anywhere where it's not this and not that. That's why Erev Shabbos, in general, that's why it's nivra that Shedim on nivra Erev Shabbos, because it's that in between time. The more oimik of that, the more depth of this idea is always is the idea of klipa koydin l'pri. That klipa koydin l'pri, that before you're going to have the fruit, which is Shabbos, there's always the klipa that comes before. Before the birth, before a mother's about to give birth, which is birth is Leda, which is going to be the most holiest thing in this world, which is mamish what's one of the maftechas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's when Tumah comes. So the Shem Shmuel and the Sachar Shavit say why does Tumah come that time? Because that's the klipa that comes right before the pre. Before there's going to be a lot of kedusha in this world. Before there's a possibility of a lot of kedusha, that's where klipa finds its place and says it's not yet here. Okay, I can grab onto something that's still almost there. That's why the Megala Mukha says that the Chet Egel happened on Erev Shabbos Lachar HaMincha. After that time period is the worst time. There's from the Ziddush, I couldn't find it. It's in case I couldn't find it, but I have to look at it. It's probably there because I saw it there years ago. But the Ziddush said that it was the worst time of his week was Erev Shabbos after Mincha. That time period was the hardest time for him. That he had the biggest lows. But the Commander writes something very similar. Yeah, it's a vacuum. Correct, it's a vacuum, and it's in between time. That's the coming nails. Yeah, klipa, the chitzonis. Same idea. That's the gadol from Avudaram. We'll see. The Arizal was not makbid about. No, but we'll see soon.
Is it right to say it's like an undefined space?
That's correct. It's an undefined space. It's a liminal time. It's a ben hashmashas time. It's nicht dahin, nicht daher. It's not Shabbos. You're not here. You're not Shabbos. You're not dressed Shabbos. But it's not choil. But it's not choil because I'm already dressed for Erev Shabbos. It's starting. The food is already cooked. The cholent smells. It's Shabbos already. It's about to happen. So he brings down from the Melech. It says it's a sign that a person will have kedusha in the Shabbos if he has an Ora Tzum Erev Shabbos. This is the truth. You need a lot of siyat l'shma. You need a lot of help for this. The Kaddish Kamoisu Badreik Zois. You could say about Melech that he had this, the famous story that Melech used to moichel everybody Erev Shabbos and all this is you're familiar with this, right? He used to go into the kitchen and moichel everybody. This is a very hard madrega. Aval ani kasafti k'moishu emes. He says I'm writing the way it is, the way I experience it, and it's very dark. He writes, if you look before, he writes, Frat Erev Shabbos Yom Tov Shem Yom Erev Shem Achosh Shabbos Yom Tov. And it's another page that he actually writes that this is something that he actually had the hardest time, Erev Shabbos. That Erev Shabbos was a big problem time. It was a time of a lot of choisha. The Chidah in Avodas HaKodesh It says, you should know that it's a very, very dangerous time for machlokes between a man and his wife. This is why the Melech forgave all the Mesharsim of Erev Shabbos. And the workers in the house, people that are preparing for Shabbos. This Achar is working overtime in these liminal times. And as it is, you're already ungezeugen. You're already nervous because Shabbos is starting and it has to start. A person should enter Shabbos without any akpadas. Your person should go in peace and speak in peace. Everything should be ruhig and very peaceful. This is very important in this Achal Shabbos. In Sefer Kana, it's written that if a person has machlekes Erev Shabbos, then he loses all the Achal Shabbos. This is the worst thing. That to have machlekes Erev Shabbos, Kol HaGadol Mechaver Yitzay Gadol, is in nefesh. Whoever is bigger as a big Yitzay is greater, as a big Yitzhara. And the Balamusa say Kol HaGadol Mechaver is also in Zman. Kol HaGadol Mechaver, anything in time. If it's greater in time, the possibility of Shabbos is coming, then Yitzay Gadol, then the Yitzhara, the Klippa is right present, right before Shabbos, to make sure that you ruin it, and you ruin it by machloikas, by fights, by nerves, by akpadas, by being anxious. All the things that you're supposed to not have on Shabbos, you enter Shabbos with this state, you lost everything. Okay, so how do you do this? Because there's a katnus and there's godless. The katnus, the smallness, is comparison to the godless. According to how much you're going to experience godless, that's how much you're going to experience katnus. So since Shabbos you're going to experience a lot of godless, a lot of greatness, bigness, dveikus, and connection, and out of a year, and simcha, and all these things you're going to experience. Therefore, Erev Shabbos, the klippa, the Sitra Achar, is really fighting for that in those edges time, the liminal times, to make sure that you're angry and you're upset at your wife, and etc., etc. How do you make sure you don't do this? There's Ataras HaKlalos from the Rashash. They used to do the Mekubalim used to do this whole tefillah that used to make sure that there's no negative things. But how do you do benefesh adam? How do you do this? So the Rambam has like this. The Rambam writes. Look at the Rambam writes. Eza Kavod. Now what is Kavod Shabbos? So there's Kavod Shabbos, there's honoring of Shabbos, and Oynik Shabbos. Oynik Shabbos is Shabbos in itself, the pleasure of Shabbos. Kavod means you're honoring Shabbos, you're preparing for Shabbos. Right? That's the Gra writes in Shulchan Aruch. The Kavod is before Shabbos. The honor to Shabbos. They call it the Shabbos. You should have a shower, get clean, go to the mikveh. Mikveh gada is a separate thing. Erev Shabbos is not bechamim. In the mikveh dafka, not bechamim. It could be bechamim, but dafka, there's dafka in Mekabalim say it shouldn't be bechamim. Umisata b'tzitzis, and then you put on tzitzis. Tzitzis also means a white garment. V'yoshe b'kovid roish. You sit with settled mind. Huh? This, but he adds. Miyachel lakabolas pnei Shabbos. This is a chiddush of the Rambam. Miyachel lakabolas pnei Shabbos. You wait and you're anticipating Kabbalah Shabbos. You mitzapeh lakadosh. This is Barry. This is your thing. You mitzapeh. You're kivui to Kabbalah Shabbos. You're hoping. You're waiting for Shabbos to come. Miyachel. Just like you go to see a king. There's also a chiddush in the Rambam that the Chacham HaRishonim, the Gemara doesn't say that. They used to collect the Talmidim and they used to go out together. Let's go greet Shabbos the king. So the idea is you have to miyachal l'tzapes. You're waiting. What is liyachal l'tzapes? You're waiting for Shabbos. So there's a Pachad Yitzchak, and sometimes the Pachad Yitzchak, if you know who he is, the Yitzchak Hutner, sometimes writes in English, so sometimes it's very funny. So it's but it's a good word. And he says that what is miyachal? He brings on this Rambam. Miyachal b'kvoid roish l'kabolas p'nei Shabbos. So he says, Hainu achana v'lan mekan shachana der Shabbos ain't soif inyane readiness. It's not prepared legufa ma'isa. You're not preparing yourself for Shabbos. That's not what miyachal. What does miyachal mean? Elishu expectation. Mitzapa l'Shabbos. Miyachal l'Shabbos means you're mitzapa. You're waiting for Shabbos to come. So there's going to be two different things here. And this is very. It's an akuda muka. The same thing actually comes from the Erev Chaim HaKadosh. That the idea of preparing for Shabbos is not just a hechetimsa. Preparing to get to that place, right? If you're prepared to get to a place, then you always want to get to the next thing. That's the definition of preparing. Let's say you're waiting for a.
Isn't that the definition of happiness?
What?
Expectation.
But not preparing. No, there's a different word. I want to say a different word. If let's say a person says, I need to go.
Expectation is the wrong word. It should be expected.
I don't know if his right word. Okay, whatever. It's not. Whatever. I'm just saying the idea. The idea is like this. If I say I need to get to some place, right? You ever saw a person by a bus stop? I don't know if the people do this anymore, but people take buses or trains in Brooklyn. People do this. So you ever saw people stand by a train and they're always looking down the tube to see when the train is coming? You ever saw this?
Yeah.
What's up? What are you doing? What's happening? Like when you look at it, like you're pulling it over to you. Like the Balamusa say that if you do this, you're not a mammon. It's like it's a chassan namuna. Really, this is a very deep thing, because you're always waiting for the next thing, but somehow you feel like if I'm going to look, that's going to bring it. What does it come from? That's nerves. That's the definition of nerves. Nerves means I'm waiting for the train to come. I need to do something because the train has to come. I'm not going to sit and read a sefer now. I'm not going to sit and relax, because by me looking and nervous, pulling for the train is going to come. Same thing also with catching a flight. People have this thing in their mind. This is all negative. This is not miyachal. This is not mitzapa. Mitzapa means you're sitting with kovid roish, like the Rambam writes. You're sitting in a settled state, and you're mitzapa for that thing to happen. What's the difference? The difference is like this. The difference is the hachana, is the preparing for Shabbos only for the kavanah to get to that place, or is the hechsha mitzvah itself the mitzvah? If I say the only reason why I'm preparing is to get to Shabbos, I need to get the cholent ready so I can have cholent on Shabbos. But preparing the cholent itself is nothing. I need to make my house clean, so I have to take out the garbage. But taking out the garbage is not a thing. I just need to make my house clean. I have to tidy up, so I have to take out my garbage. So I don't want to take out the garbage. Therefore, I'm nervous to take out the garbage. And I take it out very, very quickly because I have to do it very quickly, so something else should happen. When you live that way, and that's your achana l'Shabbos, then you're not anticipating Shabbos. You're not opening yourself up to Shabbos. You're saying, I need to get to Shabbos. That's the goal. And this space in between now and Shabbos, I have to do as quickly as possible. So if I scream to more people, and more people are making the table, it's going to get me to a better place, because the table's going to be faster ready. But if I have a different kavanah, which is that the hachana, the preparing of Shabbos, the l'chayim of Shabbos, is actually a mitzvah in the Torah. This in itself is the mitzvah. The mitzvah is not only I'm preparing so the child should be ready, should I have for Shabbos. The mitzvah is in the transition, that I have to be in a state of transition. The mitzvah itself is to take out the garbage. It's to clean the cobwebs. It's to mop the floor. To do the sponge. I told you out of that story. Anyway, it's a funny story. But the point is that the mitzvah is, this is what you're doing. This is what's happening now, and this is part of the process.
But it's because you feel like by the train, you're taking your and you're lowering it because you make it seem like you have control.
It's also you're not recognizing that you're having now a dialogue. You're in front of the king. You're lifnei HaMelech right now. You think that when I get into the train, if I have to go somewhere, that when I get to the other place, that's the tachlis. Let's say I'm running to shul, I'm running to go somewhere. I think there's no tachlis in what I'm doing now. The tachlis is to do what I'm doing tomorrow, or what I'm doing in the next 10 minutes. I just have to make sure, how do I get there as quick as possible? But you're not a mammon. You're not believing that Hashem is saying, I'm actually having a conversation with you right now. Where are you running? I need to talk to you right now.
This is very hard for our generation.
The worst thing. That's what I'm saying. We don't know how to do it. We don't know how to do this.
Right?
Yeah, we don't know how to do Erev Shabbos. Correct. This is the problem. If you look at this word, if you want to say it's the Bachat Yitzchak's Vort, but if you want to say, the Ohr HaChaim HaKadosh writes this. The Ohr HaChaim HaKadosh writes that when it says, V'Shabbos ben Yisrael lasses HaShabbos, what's lasses HaShabbos? What's the lasses HaShabbos? It says, what is Leif Shamru? Oyitzer Omer Aviv Shamar Sadavar. It says by Yosef's dream that Yosef he was protecting the dream. Mamtin, Rashi writes, Mamtin u'mitzape Mosa Yavai. He was a Mamtin u'mitzape. There was a tzipui. He was a Mamtin u'mitzape Mosa Yavai. He was waiting. He was open for the thing that's going to happen. But like we say many times, that the idea of kaveh and tzipui is what actually connects us to the future. The tzipui itself is the line, is the kaveh, is the kav that's connected. Shaloi davar Shabbos kedavar toirach. Okay, then he talks about a little different about what Shabbos in itself. It shouldn't be toirach. It's adniyas malachas ratzim mitzvah chayfetz. Altzichem lismoich b'shleimus ratzim v'chayfetz b'davar. But that's also v'shamru. Even the v'shamru masay v'shamru yisrael Shabbos mamtin mitzapa is little miyachal. This is what the Rambam writes. That you're miyachal. You're waiting for Shabbos. For the arrival of Shabbos. Maybe this is Yeshleimer, I'll pay at least more pneumius. Why does the Rambam say you have to have your Talmidim? So there's two nekudas. In Achana l'Shabbos, Mitzapel l'Shabbos, Damiyachal l'Shabbos, there is the thing that you do privately, which is before you come to Shul, which is also very important. And there were many, even the Briskerov, they used to go out on their porch Erev Shabbos before they went to Shul, and to sit for a minute to Mekabel Shabbos, Miyachal Mitzapel l'Shabbos. This is what you're doing. You're standing out on Shabbos before you run to Shul, which is very personal. It's a personal thing. That's what Chassidim say, Shir Hashim, and the Magid, and the Alter Rebbe said he would say, instead of L'chon Rani, he would say Shir Hashim. But the idea of Shir Hashim is a personal relationship by saying, I'm here now, I'm present, I'm dressed, I'm not running to Shul. I'm Mitzapa B'yachal, that's the pratistic thing. That's as an individual. And then in Kabbalah Shabbos, what the Rambam also said, the second Nekudah is Kabbalah Shabbos, is they did it with Talmidim. Talmidim, if this is the mashal, if this is the idea of the mashal, is the Talmidim. What's the difference between the Rav and the Talmud? The Rav represents today, and the Talmud represents tomorrow. The Rav represents the reality it is, and the Talmud represents the future. That's why when actually the Gil Talmidim right in the Agada, because the Talmidim came and say, we see the future. You're talking about the past. We already see that as Kishma, huh? Coming the Shaddai to the Rebbe, right? But the point is that the Talmud represents the Talmud in this analogy is Shabbos. He's the Choil, he's Mitzapel Shabbos. He comes to Talmidim and saying, we're going to do this together because the Oimik is that the Achana l'Shabbos, the Tzipur l'Shabbos is Shabbosdik already. You following? It's not Shabbosdik. If it's not Shabbosdik, then it's Machloikis, and there's fights, and there's Akpadas, and there's this Klippa, and all these things. Or you say, the Tzipur l'Shabbos is the Oyer of Shabbos already. By me, Mitzapel l'Shabbos, Miyachal l'Shabbos, I'm waiting for Shabbos to happen. The Chana l'Mitzvah becomes the mitzvah in itself, which means it has the oil of Shabbos already. So I'm not waiting for the next step. I'm standing and recognizing that this step in itself is the thing in itself, and that's why it can do without nerves. So this is the Evan HaBoicha. This is the way to know whether you're meichen l'Shabbos, you're preparing for Shabbos in a way that you're actually going to receive Shabbos correctly, and Mekabel Shabbos correctly, you can actually receive the oil of Shabbos correctly, is that you come into Shabbos and it's ruhig, and your house is lichtig, and everyone's happy that a Shabbos is coming. And it doesn't mean people are not busy. Everyone's busy out of Shabbos because there's a lot of things to do, but it's not with anger and with machloikis and with akpadas and with kas, because then you're falling to the thing which God the Kamana says that I'm going to tell you that he said on himself that I also struggle with this on whatever level he said he did this on. So it's not a real thing, but we have to just make sure that we're going this a little bit more with seichel and b'yashvus. And this is finally what I think Shlomo, you forgot this also market, but I'm not sure. But the Shulchan Aruch writes, Eresh Samach Beis, that Yilbash begodim noim v'yismach bebias Shabbos k'moyin klas hamelech klas chasen lekala. That the idea of Shabbos is v'yismach. That the Shulchan Aruch adds it has to be with joy. So the Rambam says miyachal, and the Shulchan Aruch says v'yismach. It has to be done with joy. Going back to what it said before from the Baruch, that it has to do. You have to Mekabel Shabbos b'simcha, and the marker for this is where's the marker for this? The marker is this. No, the Tur Berekas writes is what is the Tur Berekas of Talmud of Chaim Vital, and he writes that the marker for this is a shtickle Zohar, because the Zohar says what The Zohar writes,
Elaine is minun vatchel alma.
Elena Sabbath Batkan Alma, that this brings great joy into this world.
Kaddish masay tesefes mi erev Shabbos erev Shabbos.
When a person is already Mekabel Tois for Shabbos, before Shabbos, he's already Mekabel, the Nefesh Ruach and Neshama is Mekabel Erev Shabbos. What happens then?
V'ihi nafkas kad ihi nafkis.
When it goes out to greet it, yeah.
Elaine ima. Umavrei Yisrael kol itasivu.
Yes. Mavri so called Yatziru, and therefore Kal Yisrael doesn't have any Yatziru. It's not Lashon. That's the same thing, what it says in the Rosh Shabbos. Correct. Which means that when Erev Shabbos comes, it's done b'simcha. And it's done b'simcha, the person doesn't have roiges, and doesn't have anger, and doesn't have depression, or not depression, doesn't have gakpadas and other things that come around. And that's the way you know you're entering Shabbos. When a person can enter Shabbos, when he's mitzapa, he's yearning for it, and he's miyachal for it, and it's done b'simcha, and everything is lichtig in the house, and everyone's happy, then you know that the hechsher mitzvah is a mitzvah, and you're ready makabel the Erev Shabbos already in Shabbos, in Erev Shabbos. Erev Shabbos and Erev Shabbos Kodesh. So we should make sure that we know how to do Erev Shabbos Kodesh. This is the general Achana Be'ezer Hashem. In the next few weeks, we'll try to talk about more the pratim, what has to be done.